What is going on, Giants fans? Back at it with another New York Giants training camp video. And this is going to be a video about, I'm going to have a couple topics that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Stuff that's been going around training camp right now. I'm going to be talking about the guys who have been standing out, like guys like Darnay Holmes, Benjamin Victor, what's his name, Javon Leake. Guys, I'm going to talk about the guys I've been really impressed with so far, talk about Daniel Jones, talk about Ryan Connolly, pretty much talk about everything that has been going on regarding the New York Giants and training camp. So training camp is it's pretty much in full swing right now. There's been a lot of positives to take out of Giants training camp so far. Yeah, and there's been a lot of players that have been playing really well, and I'm going to talk about them. So the first player I'm going to be talking about is Benjamin Victor. Benjamin Victor was my favorite UDFA free agent, undrafted free agent that we got in the draft, and I really like this kid. I really do. He's a tall receiver. I think he fits really well for this team, and I didn't really think. I thought he could have been a player that could have been a lot higher. I think he's really good, and I didn't really think he deserved to be an undrafted. I thought he could have been like a 4th, 5th round kind of player, and I'm surprised he actually went that low in the draft. He looks really, really good. He came out of Ohio State. He's tall. I think he's like 6'5". He's like a perfect fit for this team because the Giants really don't have a tall receiver on this team. Well, we have Emmett Ingram, but he's more of a, he's a tight end. Obviously, he's not a receiver. He plays like a receiver, and he's built like one, but he is a tight end. That's his real position. But now we have a guy named Benjamin Victor that I don't think will start for this team. We already have Shepard, Tate, and Darius Slayton, so I don't really see Victor really having a spot here, but I really do think he is a good fit for this receiving core. Now, maybe Golden Tate doesn't come back next year, and the Giants don't sign a receiver out of NFL free agency. Maybe Benjamin Victor is our, maybe he's our number 3 receiver, maybe to go along with Shepard and Darius Slayton. Maybe Benjamin Victor is going to be our number 3 receiver. I really like this kid a lot. I think Benjamin Victor is one of the more underrated players on this team, and I'm very happy that he's impressed in training camp so far because I really want this kid to have a spot on this football team. I think he's a very good player. I think he's a perfect fit for this team. Now, will we see him this year? I doubt it. Undrafted free agents really don't find spots on this team, but I do think Victor has a very good shot of maybe finding a spot on this team. But am I confident that he will? No, not really. We already have 3 receivers, and we also have Corey Coleman as well. But, I'm not really confident that he will get a spot, but I wish maybe if he presses for a little bit longer, and if he continues to play well in training camp, maybe he gets more eyes shifted towards him, and maybe Dave Gettleman says, hey, he's been playing great this training camp. I want Victor on this team. I think Victor could be a big playmaker for this team, and maybe Dave Gettleman wants him on the team. Maybe I don't see that happening, but maybe if Victor continues to impress, maybe he gets a spot on this team, and I would be very happy if he does get a spot. The other guy that has been very impressive has been Javon Leake, another undrafted player that we got in the draft. He is a lightning bolt. He has a ton of speed. He's a running back, but he plays like a receiver. He can, he plays well in special teams. I like this kid a lot. I think he can have a lot of important. He can play a big, important role on this team in the near future. I really do. I really like this Javon Leake kid. He's got a ton of speed. He can play receiver. He can catch well. He can, run routes. I really like Javon Leake, and he has been very impressive so far in training camp that I've read in articles that, the Giants have been very impressed with Javon Leake, and I'm very happy because he is a very versatile player. He can play running back, he can play receiver, he can do special teams. Javon Leake can do a ton of things, and he is a very impressive talent, very impressive football player, and I really like this kid a lot. He's a lightning bolt. I think Javon Leake can kind of be that annoying kind of player for other teams to face. He can break tackles, he's speed, he can, run through defenses. I really like Javon Leake. Now, he's another guy I'm more confident that Leake will get a spot over Victor because the Giants, Cody Core is out for the season, so maybe Leake can fill in for Cody Core in that spot, and the Giants really don't have a lot of huge spots for wide receiver. They have David Sills, they have Shepard, Slayton, and Tate, obviously, and they also have Corey Coleman. They don't really have a lot of huge spots for Benjamin Victor, but Leake's a guy I feel like we could use on special teams because Cody Core got injured. I think Leake could fill in for Cody Core, play special teams, and be kind of a speedster, kind of an annoying kind of player for other defenses to face. I really like Javon Leake a lot. Maybe he's a backup running back kind of player. I'm not a big fan of Wayne Gallman. I really don't want Wayne Gallman on this team. I've been very disappointed in him. I liked him when we drafted him out of Clemson, and I've been very disappointed in him. So I think Javon Leake's a guy that I'd rather have as our number 3 running back with Barkley and Lewis. I'd rather have Leake as our number 3 running back. I really like Leake a lot. He can be kind of our versatile kind of player. I like him a lot, and he has been very impressive in training camp so far. So those are the 2 undrafted players I wanted to talk about. I'm really high on those 2 players, so I'm happy they're playing well in training camp so far. And the next player I'm going to be talking about is a player that I was kind of let down. I was let down when Gettleman drafted this guy, but he has looked awesome for the Giants so far, and that is Darnay Holmes. I wasn't a big believer in Darnay Holmes. I'm going to admit, I was not a big believer in Darnay Holmes. I didn't like it when we drafted him. I didn't really want a cornerback in that spot. I wanted a pass rusher, but Darnay Holmes has looked absolutely incredible for this team. I know he had an interception. I think Daniel Jones threw a pass. It was intended for Golden Tate, and Holmes made a great catch and intercepted the football. I've really liked Darnay Holmes so far, and I think Darnay Holmes and James Bradberry can be a very good duo, in our Giants secondary. We had a very weak secondary last year. It was one of the weakest secondaries in football. I think this secondary is going to take a huge step forward now that we see that Darnay Holmes has looked great. I like Julian Love. I'm a big believer in Julian Love. Now it does suck that Sam Beal has opted out, but I believe Ballantyne can step in and maybe play pretty decent, because we all know Ballantyne was bad last year, and DeAndre Baker will not be playing for this team this year. Well, most likely will not be playing for the Giants in 2020 because of the whole armed robbery thing. He most likely will not be playing for the Giants in 2020, but we do have Julian Love. We have Corey Ballantyne. Let's hope Corey Ballantyne finally shows his potential and steps up this year. We also have very impressive two players with Bradberry and Holmes. I like James Bradberry a lot. I really liked when we signed him. I think he's a very underrated cornerback. He played great against guys like Thomas and Jones and Mike Evans with the Panthers last year. I really like James Bradberry. He's a veteran player, and we have a very young defense. I think he can be a veteran piece, and he can really lead this Giants defense to be successful next year. I really do. And I really liked it when we signed him. I think that's a very underrated pickup for the New York Giants and very underrated pickup for the NFL. I really loved it when we signed James Bradberry, and with him alongside Darnay Holmes, a veteran and a young guy. With Darnay Holmes, he looked great so far. Darnay Holmes has looked great so far, and with James Bradberry on his side, I think we could have a very strong secondary, or at least in a very much improved secondary in 2020. But it definitely sucks that we won't see DeAndre Baker this year, because I really had high hopes that Baker would improve. It definitely sucks that we most likely will not see him this year. It's a shame, but whatever. Julian, we have Love, we have Ballantyne, we have guys who could fill in for Baker right now. But I really like Julian Love, and I really like what we saw from Darnay Holmes. The Giants have too. Darnay Holmes, I think it's been our most impressive player for the Giants in training camp so far. He had an interception the other day. I like Darnay Holmes a lot, and I was really down on him. I was down on Darnay Holmes. I was not a big believer in Darnay Holmes, but he has proved me wrong so far. He looks like he's going to be an absolute beast for this team going forward. I think he definitely gets a spot on the Giants in 2020. Now, it's definitely a question, will Darnay Holmes get a spot? Now, with Baker out, I think it's pretty much 100% that Darnay Holmes will get the start week 1, and I'm really excited to see what Holmes can do for the New York Giants in the regular season. So, Darnay Holmes has looked great, probably been our best player, most impressive player in training camp so far. And I'm also going to be talking about Daniel Jones. Jerry Schuplinski, I'm not sure how to say his name, and he says Daniel Jones has improved massively. He's improved, and literally, I mean, Daniel Jones has looked massive. I mean, he's definitely bulked up a lot. I think he's bulked 10 pounds. He's looked really buff, and I really like what we saw out of Daniel Jones so far. He looks like he is ready to take that big that big step forward. I think Daniel Jones is going to have a huge season, and maybe he makes the Pro Bowl. I think we see a huge step forward from Daniel Jones this year, and I really like what the direction this football team is in. I really like it. I like Joe Judge a lot. I like what we've seen from players out of this defense. I really like this direction the team is in. I really do. And Daniel Jones has looked great. He has looked great, and he's looked great as size. He's really, he's buffed up, and he looks like he's going to be a much improved quarterback in 2020. It looks like he's going to improve on the fumbles. The fumbles were his big issue last year, and it looks like Daniel Jones will improve on, ball security. He's got to keep the ball in his hands, and it looks like that Daniel Jones will be able to manage that in 2020. And I love what we saw out of Daniel Jones so far. Now, he was a little shaky day 1, but he has looked a lot better as the days have gone on. I think we need Daniel Jones to settle in a little bit. Daniel Jones did, look rough in his first couple days in training camp last year, and I think Daniel Jones, he was meh in his first couple days, but Daniel Jones, I do think that he will improve as training camp goes on. And he looks like he gets settled into training camp. I think Daniel Jones will look and return to his old form. I like what we saw to Daniel Jones, and it looks like that his coaches, offensive coaches, they've been impressed with Daniel Jones so far, and I have too. I really think Daniel Jones is going to take a big step forward. I think he could be a Pro Bowler in 2020. I feel like NFL fans are, they're down on him. They've been downing him. I think Daniel Jones is going to prove his haters wrong this year. I think he is going to be a great quarterback for this Giants team for years to come. I love what we saw out of Daniel Jones so far. He looked a little bit iffy to start, but now he looks like he has returned to his old form. So that's going to do it for this video. What are your thoughts on the New York Giants so far? I personally have loved what we saw out of the Giants, out of Darnay Holmes, out of Daniel Jones, out of Javon Leake and Binjimen Victor. Do you think Leake and Victor get a spot on this team? Personally, I think Leake does. I don't think Victor does, but maybe he gets a spot at, near the end of the year. I think Leake definitely gets a spot for this team with I think Leake definitely gets a spot, and I definitely think Darnay Holmes will start week 1 for this team. Not high on Binjimen Victor that he will get a start, but maybe. Who knows? Maybe he will. But anyway, what are your thoughts on Daniel Jones? What are your thoughts on Darnay Holmes? I mean, how could you not love Darnay Holmes so far? He's looked great, and what are your thoughts on Javon Leake and Binjimen Victor? So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to stay tuned for more Giants training camp videos coming out soon. I'm super pumped for football season, to be finally underway. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Talk to you guys next time.